Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This is my top 10 stocks as we head into Tuesday, January 23rd. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Real quick, a couple clarifications. Number one, the candlestick that you see right there will be moving around. That's because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one, ticker symbol AMD. And pull back today, but ultimately did recover, maintaining slightly above that area of support right there. But just to try to keep this as clean as possible and not risk causing confusion because there's lines and clutter all over the place. Like I said, let's try to keep this as straightforward as possible. So really from the overarching standpoint, so as I zoom up, you can see here that overall, even with the pullback today, everything is still perfectly fine. Now, of course, that's a little bit of a tricky thing because I understand from if your perspective is a day trader and you're buying, and you're buying right there, and your goal was to buy and sell within 20 minutes, well then yes, from that angle, the chart looks terrible. But assuming you do care about things from the bigger picture point of view, even with the bigger pullback, the chart still has plenty of opportunity to build a higher base. And when you look at where the lows have been, there's a low, there's a low, there's a low, even today's low, and then you envision those as stair steps. The stair steps still very much so going in the upwards direction. But the easiest way to continue to just gauge the health of the overall movement is just watch that purple line there, the 50-period moving average. And as the name implies, moving average, that line is going to continue to move itself higher and higher. So it's basically like a trend line that's going to draw itself for you. So as long as the price stays above the trend line, as the trend line itself gets higher and higher, then that does imply by default that the overall trend is still in the bull's favor. In terms of areas of resistance, so let me zoom in here a little bit. In the very near term, that first key level to watch closely, going to be right there at that location of 170. And then after 170, nothing fancy or complicated at all. Literally just a question of where did the party and momentum stop today. And that was right there during that opening 30 minutes, right up around 174.65. But assuming you care about the big picture point of view, everything's still perfectly fine as it builds those higher bases. Next one here, ticker symbol PHUN. Very, very impressive movement today as it's finally broken outside of the sideways channel pattern that it had been stuck in for the past few days. So this morning gapped up, got the break, continued on up, which prompts your first key update, which is based on a foundational rule in charting, stating when levels of resistance are broken and closed above, you want to see them act as support. So the newest area of support right there at 29 cents. And I'm not going to call it a do or die level, but certainly important because if the price were to drop back below this area, what is that doing to the price? Well, that would be putting the price right back inside of this range where it just was. And, that's not what a truly strong move is going to do. That's not what a genuine breakout is going to do. It's not going to break out and then go back to where it was. It's going to at least start to show some signs of progress. And in this situation, the quote-unquote sign of progress, I am defining as staying above that 29 cent mark. If the upwards move continues, then the near-term key level to keep a close eye on right there at the 40 cent mark. And then after 40 cents, next key level after that would then be right here at that level of 48 cents. But all in all, got the sideways channel breakout. Let's see if it can build more momentum. Next one here, ticker symbol PLTR. Very, very nice movement today with the gap up. And then the opening 30 minutes, very solid. Now, again, a little bit of perspective. If you're a day trader and you bought right there, then yeah, you're not feeling too good about this chart. But overall, everything's perfectly fine. And we have a very well-defined area of support moving forward where it bottomed out right here at $17.40. So 1740 going to be right there at that area. So if you're someone that likes pullbacks, you can see it bounce once, bounce twice right there. So you're going to want to keep an eye on that. If it does break through there, no guarantees, but it essentially enters a no man's land because the next area of support, not until that gap close location. So this entire area of the chart right here, like I said, you just look back and there's just nothing else that suggests an area of support. So that doesn't mean that if it fails 1740, it's dropping straight down to that level. But just from a technical standpoint, it does suggest that you could get a bigger pullback there. In terms of areas of resistance in the very near term, keep an eye on that level right there at 1790. But all in all, a good looking chart. Next one here, ticker symbol MARA, and things are starting to look a little bit more promising. And I say that because check out the recent lows. Before there was a low. Oh, look. Oh, a new low. Let's check out. Oh, there's another new low. But now what do we have? Well, we have this low here, but now the new low is right there. And then we have another rollover. But however, before it bounced, you have a low right there. So you now have some lows, getting higher and higher. Does this guarantee a bottom? Does this guarantee that this thing is about to turn itself around in a bigger way? Of course not, no guarantees. But it becomes a whole lot more plausible compared to those times where all the price was doing was putting in a new low, right? You don't have to look that far. I mean, look at that. Just one new low after another new low after another new low. You get the idea, but the exact opposite is starting to happen now. Once again, to reiterate, does not mean that this is for sure a bottom, but it does make it a whole lot more plausible to throw that scenario out there. An area that I'm very curious about from a trendline standpoint is right there. So keep an eye on that moving forward. And it's, puts a breakout point right around the 1690 mark, give or take. So keep an eye on that. But yes, certainly things have gotten a whole lot more interesting if you're someone that likes to catch those stocks that start to curl back upwards off a bottom. Next one here, ticker symbol AMC. And once again, one of those, it's all depend on perspective situations. If you're a day trader and you bought right there looking to buy and sell within 7 minutes, yes, from that angle, things look terrible. But if you do care about the bigger picture things, yes, it did pull back today. But when you look at where the lows are here, compared to those lows, compared to these lows, then once again, like these other charts, you've now got some higher stair steps being put into place there. So from that angle of things, the chart's looking great. But again, from that angle, from the other angle, for day traders that bought right there, they're not having probably a very good Monday. But moving forward, you want to just continue to see the price build those higher bases. And that's where, once again, to simplify things, let's just use that 50 period simple moving average, because as the name implies, that line is just going to move itself higher and higher on its own. So as long as the price stays above there, that would be a good sign. In terms of those levels of resistance, near-term key area of resistance, I would conclude to be right there around the 455 mark. So keep an eye on that. And if the price can get in a good, solid, high-volume break, then yeah, you got to like the chances that it could make a potential run back up to those highs. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live webinar that I'm offering later on in the week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box, or if you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free webinar. Next one here, ticker symbol FSR. And a tricky chart because it's not a total train wreck, but it's very close to being a total train wreck, which brings about the question, okay, well, what would finally decide and make you say that it is a train wreck? And that's where this 85-cent mark comes into play, which let's change that to green to represent support. So it's a key area for two reasons. Yes, it is essentially that, this area of former resistance right there, but it's also right where that purple line there is hanging out, which you now know is the 50-period moving average. And the reason why that is what I'd call the train wreck mark is, let's just say that the price comes down here and then breaks down through it. What is that doing? That's putting the price right back in that range where it was. Or in other words, that would be implying that after this huge move up, the price is essentially gone right back to where it was. I mean, in some senses, you could call that a little miniature pump and dump. So again, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but that's why in my mind, 85 cents, very, very important level, because that's what's going to really dictate whether or not it's starting to show some signs of progress or if it's simply going right back to where it started. In terms of areas of resistance, if the price does try to bounce back upwards, key level to watch closely right there at that location of the 95-cent mark. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, in my mind, at least, the most important thing is all about, can the price at least maintain above 85 cents and give, an opportunity to start to show some signs of making progress. Next one here, ticker symbol PLUG, and this will mean a little bit more to those of you that have watched the past videos I've done on this one. But if you remember, talked about that trend line right there, talked about how it was knocking on the door and looking like maybe a break, and it did break on Friday, and then today just got that much more upside movement there. So that trend line has broken, and the momentum has shown up. So we'll get rid of these levels here and just start afresh. And wow, it's been very popular today, it being that 50-period moving average. So from a support standpoint, you want to see the price maintain above there, because as long as the price does, that line is going to level out and then start to curl back upwards. And when it starts to curl back upwards, and when the trend line, quote unquote, gets that positive slope to it, that's where you really can have that much more confidence that a bullish uptrend is occurring. So yes, right now, you can't take away from the fact that there have been higher lows that have been put into place. But would I officially call this a good, solid, bona fide uptrend? In my opinion, at least, that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. But if you can get that purple line to start to, level out and curl upwards, then you can put a whole lot more weight, on that topic there. As far as areas of resistance, so if this thing wants to continue to try to show some upward strength, main level in my mind right there at that $3 mark, you can see right there was an area of resistance, and then that's essentially, broadly speaking, right where the price struggled here. So yeah, it did have the pullback, but to give credit where credit's due, it has started to curl back upwards late afternoon. So can this movement continue and then do battle with $3 on Tuesday? We'll see what happens. Next one here, ticker symbol SAVE. Been tracking this one very closely, and as I've talked about, something like this gets beat down that much, it's worth watching for the bounce, and we've got that bounce. So pretty crazy to think that not that long ago it was down here around $4.20. Now it's knocking on the door of $8, so almost a 100% bounce right here, which is pretty crazy. But we'll get these levels out of the play now because they've served their purpose. And once again, yeah, we're going to talk about it, that 50 period moving average. Same general idea of what I just talked about. Right now it's leveled off, but you want to see the price continue to stay above it because when that happens, that purple line is going to curl upwards, which just give that much more confidence to the trend and the bulls, getting strength and taking back over within that context. In terms of areas of resistance, main battleground to watch right now, right there at that 840 mark. That was simply the top of this little miniature dead cat bounce right there. You can see struggled there several occasions, but now the price is just hovering right below it. So big, interesting question headed into Tuesday. Is this just the final breath before another move to the upside? We'll see what happens. Next one here, ticker symbol TSLA, Tesla. And once again, I'm putting some new lows here. But what I'm noticing and what I'm thinking is I think Tesla's had enough of this going down nonsense. I think this thing wants, am I going to say reverse around and go back up to, $250? I'm not saying that, but it's starting to feel like this thing has had enough of going down, which is what's allowed for this falling wedge pattern to be put in place. I'm just going to go ahead and use that line right there. It doesn't really necessarily matter, but just because we can get a little bit more data points right there. But I'm calling this a falling wedge pattern. You may think that's a bearish pattern. It's actually a bullish pattern. I should note that just because there's a bullish pattern does not mean for sure guaranteed the price is going to go upwards. But Tesla, such a popular stock, and to think that once again today it put in lower lows, that's pretty crazy. So I think it's valid to think. Now the price may need to come down here and potentially find some support on that line before bouncing back upwards. But I'm thinking Tesla wants to show some upward strength here moving forward. But no, there are no guarantees. Patterns don't mean anything in terms of a guarantee aspect. So that's why risk management does matter. But, if I were to force to summarize this one, Tesla's got the falling wedge. Not just a question of does this falling wedge want to play out and create some upside movement. We'll see what the rest of this week has to offer. Next one here, ticker symbol TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ market. So if you believe the NASDAQ market is going to go up, then this one will also go up. It just allows people access for a much lower price point. And really quite straightforward here. Got a nice bull pennant pattern. And when you have bull pennants and you have really any pattern that a lot of people are watching and wondering about, then, no guarantees, but it does start to introduce potential self-fulfilling prophecies where people just buy, just because it's a breakout of a pattern and everybody's looking at this pattern, everybody wants to buy a breakout. So they buy the breakout and then a breakout happens just because everybody's thinking that way. So what we have here is going to go ahead and adjust this area up the bottom part of this consolidation right here at about 54.45. And this is not an exact trend line, but just trying to convey the overall idea here that you have this pullback today, which formed that little part. But then when you consider what happened before this and you had that big move up there, and then to make it a little bit more visual for you golfers out there, put the golf hole back here or down here. Here we have a bull pennant pattern. So no guarantees, but is it plausible that if the price comes up here and pushes up through that area, that break could create additional buying pressure? Absolutely. But again, just because something's bullish doesn't mean it's going to go up, because you're going to have shorts watching this area right here and thinking, what happens if that area of support fails? Could that generate some more push to the downside and, create a bigger pullback? That's also a very plausible scenario, which is why that risk management matters. So that wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here, then definitely go get signed up for that webinar later this week. It'll be Thursday, January 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy these, do a couple things for me. Hit that like button, leave a simple comment down below. That helps out the channel, helps out these videos, and I really do appreciate it. So thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one.